right, so let's get started. You would have already clicked on this PowerPoint, and that's how you've ended up at this video. But I just wanted to quickly have a look at our lesson goals and to show you that we're going to use the OneNote down below. So if you want to split screen that along with this video, put it off to the side, and you can work through and do the exact same questions that I'm doing with you at home. Now, our first thing is, what is an integer? What's a rational and irrational number? You would have already had a look at some of those going through the PowerPoint, maybe not the rational and irrational numbers yet. We're going to look at how to understand how to add and subtract integers with different signs, and we're going to recognize what the sign is on the solution based on what are the numbers in the question. Now, our first thing is we're going to go down to this number line, and at the moment there's only one question. You should hopefully have the other questions yourself on the document that I've shared. But we're starting off with something nice and easy, and these are actually integers. Integers are just numbers that are whole numbers. That's it. They could be a positive number, they could be 0, or they could be a negative number. So each of these are integers. When we're talking about rational and irrational numbers, rational numbers are just numbers that could be integers, or they could be ones with decimals that can be turned into fractions. That's it. And an irrational number is one that its decimals can't be added to a fraction or can't be changed to a fraction. So we've got 5 take 2, and hopefully most people on here are going, that's easy, it's 3, done. We're used to something like this. We're used to something where we've got a big number and we're taking away a small number, and we end up with whatever you have learned or the strategies that you've taken to get yourself to 3. We could be using a number line to do the exact same thing, but for this sort of question, it's a little bit easy. So if I was to step things up and change it to 5 take 9, we're looking at something that for some people could still be easy, but it might be something that's a little bit challenging for other people because it's not what you're used to. You've got a small number and you're taking away a bigger number. So in these cases, we're going to end up with some sort of negative thing. We're taking away too much from something that's a little bit smaller. Now, I want to get some practice with using the number line, so I'm going to do it on this question. So we're going to 5 take 9. So our goal is we're going to start at where 5 is on our number line, and we're going to go, okay, I need to either take away or I need to add a number. If you're going to be taking away something, you're going to be going in that direction, assuming that the thing is a positive number that you're taking away. If you're going to add, well, you're going to go the other way. You're going to go to the right if you're adding another number. So we can clearly see we're at 5 and we need to take away 9. So I'm going to start at 5. I'm going to go left because it's take away, and I'm going to go 9 places. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know if I took away 5 from 5, I'd be at 0. So yep, we're in the right spot. And we take away whatever's left, which is another 4 spaces. So I go 6, 7, 8, 9, and I end my spot there at -4, which means I come back over to my equation. I go 5 take 9 must be -4. So I can see because this is a bigger number taken away from a smaller number, my answer is going to be a negative, as opposed to when we had the small number on the right-hand side for 5 take 2, we had a positive answer. So that's coming to our learning goal, the third one that was down there, and that's looking at what sign we're going to have based on what we had in the question. So hopefully that's not too bad. That might have been something that you've already done before. Some people might have a different approach. They might go, okay, I need to take away the 5. That brings me down to 0. Where am I going to go from there? I need to take another 4. So that's what that's representing. Take 4, -4. Take and negative, basically the same thing. So I'm going to get rid of all that. I'm going to try a different question. We're going to ramp it up just a little bit more. So let's think about, and I'll go back to insert a new equation. All right, so what happens if I'm going to start off with a negative number? A little bit trickier. So I'm starting at -2, and let's say I'm going to add 5. So this time we're not actually doing subtraction, we're going to do an addition, but we've got a little bit of an element that's a little bit different to what you're maybe used to, and that's having a negative number first. So I'm going to start and do the exact same process that I did before. I'm starting with the left-hand number, so I'm going to start with -2, and I'm going to move in the direction that the positive or negative tells me to. So the plus next to the +5 tells me to go right. And since there's no other operations there, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go right, and I'm going to go right 5 places. I'm going to go 1, 2. If I had -2 and I added 2 onto it, I'm back to where I started, right at 0, nothing at all. And I still need to add another 3. So I'd go 3, 4, 5. So I've plus my 5, and I end up here, end up at +3. Using the exact same steps that we did before. We're isolating where we're starting. We're looking at the direction we need to take. We take that direction, the amount of spaces that the right-hand number tells us to, and we get our answer. Now, what happens if we've got multiple things happening at the same time? So we're going to go a little bit trickier with this one. We're going to say, I'm going to start 1, but instead of taking just a normal big number, what happens if I take away a negative number? So this is where I reckon we're going to get a few people going, okay, this looks a little bit trickier. But there's some simple processes that we can take, and we're going to take some of the similar stuff that we've already done. Just like it says start at 1. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start at 1, find where 1 is. There it is. And I'm going to do what I would normally do. I would go to that negative, and that negative tells me to go left. So I'm going to look at where I need to go. I need to go left. But, and here's the but, because it is a negative number, the other negative tells me to turn back around and go the other way. So it says go left, but then the other negative tells me to go right. And since there's no other operations, I'm going to go in the direction that my final cursor is telling me to go. So it said go left first. The negative on the 4 tells me to go right. There's no other operations, so I'm going to go right. So I'm going to take a negative number. I'm actually going to go in the right-hand direction. I'm going to add 4. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to end up at 5. +5, which is a bit weird because we got a lot of negatives in there. But that's okay. We're just taking the process of what are the operations telling me to do. So if I have a look at my left subtraction, this one here, that's telling me to go left. And then the other negative tells me, no, go the other way, go right. We can also think about this by changing the equation to something that's a little bit easier for us to do, and something we're a little bit more familiar with. So I'm going to start with my 1. And we need to start thinking about this rule. If I have a take and I have another take, it's exactly the same as saying plus. We can think about one of them stays horizontal, the other one goes vertical. They come together and they make the plus sign. So a take and a take makes a plus. And I just put my number back on the end. 1 + 4, and that is a lot easier for us to do. We can either take the approach that we did before, just looking at what direction we need to go, or with something like this, 1 + 4, pretty easy, it's 5, and we end up with the same number that we have above. This second equation looks a lot easier than the first one, a lot easier to manage. And that's the approach that maths wants us to do. We want to make things easy for ourselves. So we try and make something, or make a formula or make an equation that looks easy to do. So, harder question. What happens if we add even more to it? So let's say we're not going to start in a positive direction. Let's say we're going to, let's try that equation again. Let's go with, I'm going to start at -4. And I'm going to take -8 equals, oh, already gave me the answer. So -4, take 8. You might be looking and going, that's not going to fit in a number line. And hopefully you are thinking that, because if I've got a negative number and I'm taking away something even bigger, it's going to be even more negative than where it started. So -4, take 8. I'm going to follow the steps that I did before. It would say start at 4. Take away tells me to go left. There's no other operations. So I would keep going 8 places all the way up to the left. and it is going to be negative 12. Those sort of ones are just going to follow this similar process that we took before. But what happens if we made it not take 8, but take negative 8? So a little bit trickier. I'm going to take this steps that we did in the first question, and we're going to take the steps that we took in the second thing that we just did before. I'm going to join them together, and we're going to try and change something that looks really complicated into something a little bit easier. So first thing, it says start at negative 4. So there I am at negative 4 with a big highlighted circle for some reason. I'm going to start at negative 4, and it tells me to take. So I'm looking to the left because take away is going to the left. But then the other operation, the other take, tells me turn around, go the other way. So take to the left first. The other negative tells me to go right. There's no other operations there to tell me to do something different. So I'm going to keep going right. I'm going to go 8 places. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to end up at 4. Just because I started with a negative doesn't mean that the approach is any different at all. It's just we're starting in a negative place. And if we change the equation, which I'm going to do right now, it's going to still look a little bit more difficult for some people. So I'm going to start with, well, we started with negative 4. And we said before that if I've got a take and a take, that makes a plus. So I can get rid of those brackets. I can go the take and the take makes a plus. And I can go negative 4 plus 8. Like I said, for some people, this is going to be making it a lot easier. If you need to pay back someone that you owe $4 and you pay them 8, they've now got 4 more than they started with at the starting. So something like that, some people might be able to do all right. But having a look at the equation above it, it looks a lot more difficult. And changing it to this form down below will make it a lot easier. So try and see if you can use this approach. I want you to go through the rest of the PowerPoint, and there's some questions at the end. I want you to see if you can do similar ones yourself. If you have any problems, just let me know.